Hey Marie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Just by way of introduction, everyone, I'm Miles Hischer. I'm the co-founder and owner of Highview Solutions, a Google Cloud consulting partner. Marie's been a invaluable extended member of our team for all things financial management related. And this is a quick video where I want to talk a little bit more about accounting, bookkeeping. I want to talk about the journey that we went through going from cash to accrual and what that meant for me running financials at Highview. And then I want Marie to share a little bit more about her firm. So yeah, as we get started, Marie, can you begin with just an overview, because I confuse these roles of
hmm
a accountant versus a bookkeeper versus a CPA.
Yeah, sure, Miles. So this is a really important distinction. A bookkeeper, they are someone who they typically don't have a college degree. If they do, it's an associate's degree, so they have about 2 years of college experience, and then really not a lot of real world experience. So when you're first starting out as maybe a startup, you're probably looking for that bookkeeper because they are going to be on the cheaper end. An accountant, an accountant services, they're really going to range because you could have an accountant that's maybe only had a year experience, but then maybe a senior accountant who's had several years of experience. So again, the range in pay for those services are really dependent on the experience. But an accountant, they do have a 4-year college degree. And the difference between an accountant and a CPA really is studying and sitting for the 4-part exam. A CPA will have qualified in whatever state that they have their CPA license to first take the exam, and then they've passed. There's 4 parts of a CPA exam, so they've passed all 4 parts with a 75 or above on each section.
Got it. Got
So,
it.
and
Makes
they're going to
sense.
be the most expensive. So,
Got it. Understood. And we
yeah.
actually have a separate CPA that we use for at Highview to prepare our annual tax returns. And then we work with Marie and her firm on an ongoing basis, who's like in the weeds, helping us with closing our financials each month.
hmm
Okay, so I'm a founder with a sales background, and I really struggled taking over financial management of Highview, especially as we started hitting that, I would say, like $3-4 million a year mark. Marie, when she came in, I was managing everything with a bunch of spreadsheets. I had basically sales forecasts, and then would just true up against actuals in a spreadsheet. And then at the end of the year, um, the CPA would sort of clean up QuickBooks, and I would just look at the variance against my spreadsheet, and that was fine. But right at about 3 to 4 million, that process totally broke because the variance just in absolute terms became larger. So one of the first things, Marie, you helped me with was cash to accrual. It's
hmm
been a couple of years now. Do you remember
Yeah.
that whole journey?
Yeah. That was definitely an interesting journey, and just the thought process behind that that you struggled with, Miles. Like, I don't understand, like, recognizing revenue before I've even invoiced my customer, right? Um, a lot of my clients, they really do struggle. Like, why would I even think about doing something like that?
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the reasons why I struggled with it is the cash basis model is so simple. It's like you
hmm
have money in the bank, that's what you've made. And then when you start getting into this accrual mindset, it, it took me like probably 4 or 5 months of working with you regularly before we completed the transition and I felt
hmm
really comfortable with that new model.
hmm
Um, yeah, what's the journey been like for others that you've worked with going from cash to accrual? Because I'm sure not everyone takes 4 months, but I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
learning curve.
There is definitely a learning curve, and honestly, 4 months, that's kind of typical. It takes an owner on average between 4 to 8 months to really fully understand, like, what are we actually doing? Now, on a cash basis, like you said, Miles, it's very simple. As the money comes in to your bank account, you either record it to revenue, and if there's an expense going out, you record it to the expense account on the date of the transactions. That's very simple. But when you transition over to accrual basis accounting, that really, if you don't have an accountant, you're not going to be able to do it by yourself unless you have an accounting background, because there are several journal entries that you're going to need to make that transition. And there's work papers that you have to have in order to back those numbers up.
Yeah.
So, if you're booking an accrual for revenue, you have to make sure that you have an accrual work paper, just like with prepaid expenses. That's another one. Accounts receivable, does that tie to your CRM system that you're using? There's several things that you need to take into account that on a cash basis, you're not even going to think about.
Yeah, totally. And then in addition to all the work papers for like deferred revenue schedules, deferred expenses, and all the different parts of the accrual transition, we also created a monthly financial checklist, which I am
Right.
like a huge fan of. And
Hmm.
and then every month we basically are able to close our business by the 15th for the month, like the period prior, which has
Correct.
worked like super good and is super clean.
I
Um,
do have a month-end checklist for all of my clients. I would suggest that if you don't have that in place, that is something that you get in place right away. Even if you are on cash basis, it just really helps the owner understand what's happening in the background for their accountant or bookkeeper that they're working with, and just to make sure that everything is actually getting done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say for owners, like the buck stops with you. Like it's your responsibility to understand what's happening every month. And a checklist is a great like shared worksheet between you and your accountant or bookkeeper or CPA to ensure that all the tasks have been completed. Great. Okay.
Correct?
Marie, so in conclusion, tell me about some of the other services from Retana Co because I'm a big fan of you guys, and I would love to have other people watch this video and contact you guys for services.
Yeah, for sure. So what's really interesting is that we are a remote accounting firm. For example, Miles and I have actually never met in person, but we've been working together for over 3 years now. So we are actually located in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we offer services ranging from bookkeeper all the way up to CFO and CPA level support. So it's really dependent on the client. There are several industries that we specialize in. Software as a service is one of them. And then another big one that we focus on is the construction industry. So those are two very specific services. And you definitely want to make sure that you use an accountant or CPA that is really knowledgeable in the industry that you're in.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks,
Mhm.
Marie. Marie from Retana Co Accounting. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you guys.